Europe has changed. In many countries, you have big Muslim minorities, big Arab minorities. In France, for example, you have about 12% Muslim and Arabs. In Great Britain, you have about 8 or 9%. I mean, this is a difference now. When you look at the scenery in Europe, it is different. And I was amazed, by the way, to learn what's going on the campuses in the United States. This is incredible. You know, once that was the passion of pro-Israeli forces, and today it seems that pro-Muslim, pro-Hamas has taken over. Now, today, there was a warning for Israeli to go abroad only if necessary. This is a warning that we should hear. Just to add
Actually,
something.
I'm sorry, I just want to interrupt because I do want to currently go to New York where I'm joined by Noah Faye, a Columbia University student on the very topic that I think Hasna just brought up. What is the feeling currently on campus? Have there been attacks, more attacks, I should say, on Jewish students? And have you personally felt or been targeted?
Thank you so much for having me. Absolutely, the situation on campus has been horrendous when it comes to situations of anti-Semitism. I mean, what we are seeing is just as you all were saying, we've never seen this before. Certainly not in the context of my generation and on our college campuses, which have previously been, especially I'm an undergraduate at Barnard College, which is one of the four undergraduate universities, undergraduate schools of Columbia University. We are particularly known for our sororal, uplifting, empowering sense of self and community and environment, and to have that flipped on its head entirely has been, I honestly don't really have the words, but to say that it has been vulgar is absolutely not an exaggeration. It has been very, very difficult. And the attacks on our students, on my friends, started immediately after, within the first week of the October 7th attacks. An Israeli student was attacked himself for putting up flyers of images of the kidnapped and the killed by Hamas. So to say that this was an immediate correlation and result is absolutely accurate.
And anti-Semitism has been bailing on Ivy League donations and many coming out and actually boasting that they are now quote unquote proud to have never gone to an Ivy League university if this is the kind of narrative they want to put on display. Do you think that this is hurting the credibility of the academic institutions from a long-term point of view, or simply this is all contextual, meaning it will blow over once the war is done?
I have to say, I have previously been of the mindset that when it comes to old, revered American institutions, like particularly those of the Ivy League, I used to think there was not really anything that could happen to really change that overall understanding and elite reverence, really. After seeing the results of the war, and as it has spread now to a war on campus, seriously, this is a psychological war, if nothing else, what we are experiencing on campus. I do not think that any part of this event or war of this magnitude can really blow over. With that being said, I think whether or not we are able to move on from this with a strong sense of positive closure, it's up to the universities and the administrations to decide. They absolutely have the power not to let this affect how others see our institutions and how we frankly see ourselves. But whether or not they choose to exercise that power to ensure this is really up to them.
And Noah, just briefly, how would you like the administration or the university itself to be combating anti-Semitism? What would you personally like to be seeing more done in terms of making sure that Jewish students feel safe on campus?
So what we have seen so far, as I believe, as a direct result of our press conference, which I'm very happy to say has given us a strong sense of a renewed sense of hope that I think is unique to the Jewish people. Honestly, we've seen right now, at least at Barnard College, we have a new task force that is explicitly combating anti-Semitism in the various forms it has now presented itself on campus. So that is something that we explicitly asked for, something we really wanted to see. And in order to feel the support, is the add of financial and human resource support for the students who are feeling these attacks, myself included. And so I think the task force is absolutely the first step to that. So we are very, very glad to see that happen. And so what they end up doing after this is all, and this is always to say, this is just the first step. So this is not at all them, dusting off their hands and saying they've finished everything. This is just the first step. We hope to see more. And I have to say, based on people's response and the university response to the press conference, is good.
Administrators know if they thank you so very much for joining us.
Israel is at war. Make an investment in Israel bonds. It is the most powerful and direct way to stand with Israel. Visit israelbonds.com and invest now.
Made for Me, a unique concept in Israel. Custom-made men's fashion to your measurements. Made for Me, designer of all your events. Schedule your appointment at www.madeforme.co.il. Made for Me, official dresser of I-24 News.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen.
Israel is officially in a state of war.
This is a very active scene, and we can get in the car as we're talking.
More than 100 soldiers and civilians have been kidnapped.
Just don't know anything.
Entire families, including babies and children and elderly, were butchered in their beds.
Awaken the giant, and we are ready and we are strong.
Everyone is showing up. This is the unity.
Esta semana en el 24, Israel bajo ataque. El 24 en español trae el análisis y la información de los acontecimientos de la guerra, Espadas de Hierro.
Entrevistas exclusivas, reportes desde la zona de guerra, la reacción de los países hispanoparlantes.
El 24, el único medio en español que te mantiene informado y conectado con la comunidad latina en Israel. El 24, únicamente en I-24 News. We have 1,400 murdered on the 7th of October, 250 hostages still in Gaza. And we're demanding that the world march through the streets of New York and Paris and London to say no to terror, say bring our people home.
Hello and welcome to this breaking news edition. I'm Rusty Leventhal coming to you live from Tel Aviv. Thanks for joining me. It is day 28 of war here in Israel. Rocket alert sirens continue to blare throughout the communities in the south and around the Gaza border. As of today, Friday, and as Israeli soldiers and armored vehicles continue to push well into the Gaza Strip, the casualties are subsequently rising too. Since the start of the ground incursion, 25 IDF soldiers have been killed in battle, raising the total number of soldier fatalities thus far since October 7th to 341. This in addition to the over 1,400 civilians murdered by Hamas and the 241 hostages currently being held by Hamas in the Gaza Strip. On the back of all this is a visit by U.S. Secretary of State Anthony Blinken, his fourth now since the October 7th massacre. Here are some of Blinken's comments from his earlier press conference in Tel Aviv, followed by an address to the public by the Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu.
Days after Hamas's attack on October 7th, I came to Israel, followed soon thereafter by President Biden, to make clear that as long as the United States stands, October 7th, I reiterate that in all my discussions with Prime Minister Netanyahu, President Herzog, the Security Cabinet. I reiterated and made clear our support for Israel's right to defend itself, indeed its obligation to defend itself. That includes through the additional assistance that we work with Congress and we're working with Congress now to provide for Israel's defense, as well as for urgent humanitarian needs in Gaza. This right to self-defense, indeed this obligation to self-defense, belongs to every nation. No country could, or should, tolerate the slaughter of innocents. Our forces are working in all fronts and all locations. Our victories will be loud and clear. It will send a message to the enemy, one that will echo for generations. The enemy wants to destroy the state of Israel, and I tell you, and I'll tell them, our enemies will fail. They will be defeated. We will not stop until we reach victory, and until we reach all of our decided goals, eradicating Hamas, bringing back those kidnapped, and bringing back security for ourselves and our children. I appreciate the continued support of President Biden, the U.S. administration, and the American people. I made it clear that we will continue full force and we will refuse any ceasefire that would not include the liberation of our hostages. We will not transfer money to the Gaza Strip.
Rocket alert sirens have been relentless in the south, the most recent one coming just 10-15 minutes ago. But take a look at this. In that footage, you see our 24 News correspondent Pierre Clochenberg, who is in the south with his cameraman. The camera caught on screen a rocket that hit right near them, which actually landed in a kindergarten, and obviously that being caught on cameras. No injuries were reported, however. Now, as the fighting intensifies in the south, the eyes and ears are also on Israel's northern border following a speech by Hezbollah chief Hassan Nasrallah, who finally broke his silence on the war.
What's happening in Gaza today is not like any other previous war. It's unlike anything that has ever happened before. It's not just another battle. It's a decisive and historic one. What unfolds after it will differ significantly from what it was before. With regards to our Lebanese front, as some were saying, His Eminence is going to announce joining the battle. We entered the battle on October 8th.
Now, with me here in studio is Avi Pazner, the former Israeli ambassador to France and Italy, and the former world chairman of Karen Hayesod United Israel Appeal, and our senior editor, Guy Israel. Thank you, gentlemen, for joining me. Guy, I wanted to just ask you, because we've seen this continuously coming over the border in terms of fire, and again, it just goes to dispel the fact that the reason that there aren't so many casualties on the Israeli side as many claim is because we have the Iron Dome, and that protects all Israeli civilians, and yet we have a rocket caught on camera that fell inches away from our correspondent.
Yes, I've been both living in this area and covering the conflict for the past good part of the past 20 years. Ongoing rocket fire that started in the early 2000s. Back then, people didn't pay too much attention to it, but that was obviously intensified once Hamas took over the Strip and after Israel withdrew from Gaza back in 2005. The two major reasons why there are not many civilian casualties are two. First is the Iron Dome that Israel invested billions in the development of, that saves so many lives. There's rocket interceptors that managed to intercept those rockets from Gaza in mid-air, and the fact that the Israeli public is obedient to the guidance of the Home Front Command, going into shelters once those sirens go off. These save lives, and when people like Pierre, unfortunately, are in the field, they have no time or place to run to, and they really are risking their lives as they are reporting from the field.
I mean, 15 seconds really isn't a lot of time whatsoever. And Avi, I want to speak to you a little bit about Nasrallah's speech, but just before that, I want to cross to our correspondent, Mary McCullough, who is standing by for us in northern Israel. Mary, following Nasrallah's speech, there was an exchange of fire over the border, the northern border, between the IDF and Hezbollah, but it didn't seem from his speech to indicate that Hezbollah was going to be entering a full-scale war with Israel. So what's with the exchange?
Well, actually, even during Nasrallah's Nasrallah's speech, we heard a number of different artillery and mortar shells coming from the Israeli side of the border across into Lebanese territory. We later got a statement from the IDF saying that had struck two cells inside southern Lebanon that were planning to launch anti-tank missiles at Israeli posts along the border. So we definitely continue to see this, but this is not something new. This is something that we've been covering for 3 weeks now. The big question when Hassan Nasrallah began his speech is whether or not he was going to use this time to launch an all-out war against Israel or to signal that there was going to be some kind of escalation against Israel in response to what we're seeing here in the north. But what we just continue to see is these cross-border attacks. Hezbollah launches attacks into Israeli territory, and Israel retaliates and fires back. That's likely to be the situation that is going to change. The consensus that we've heard here is that we don't believe that there's going to be a full-out escalation, that this is not actually something that Hezbollah wants, and if it's something that Hezbollah wanted, they would have done it by now. But that, again, let's take with a grain of salt because nobody truly knows, and then Nasrallah made it clear that he will continue to be watching very closely what's going on in Gaza, as well as what goes on the northern border, cautioning Israel from staying away or launching any attacks that would kill civilians in southern Lebanon, not explicitly drawing red lines, but suggesting that these are two things that could push the group to go for further involvement into this conflict.
Absolutely, and of course, Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu telling Nasrallah exclusively after that interview, of course, and being very explicit, saying you cannot imagine how much a war will cost you. Don't test us. Correspondent Mary McCall is giving us an update there from the north. Thank you for that. And as promised, Dudley, I want to touch base with you regarding the speech because it was a hyped up speech. We knew about this already at the beginning of the week. Everyone was waiting for what he was about to say, and the reality is that were we actually expecting him to say something straight out like we will be engaging with the war? Nasrallah's speeches, even from the past, have always been read between the lines. So were we really shocked that he didn't really come out and say something so forthcoming?
You know that it is the most hyped speech in the world. I've never heard that kind of hype before a speech. Nasrallah will speak on Friday, and we all listen. And the truth is, he had nothing new to say, which doesn't mean, by the way, that he cannot change his mind. But his speech clearly indicated that at this stage, I say, at this stage, he doesn't want to enter into a big confrontation with Israel. When he said, I entered the war on the 8th of October, it's true. I mean, our people in the north are suffering. They are shooting and the rockets and anti-tanks, but it is a very limited warfare, very limited. And he said clearly, this is a war of the Palestinians, it's not our war. All that Batia can change 2 days from now, okay? We have to be modest in our assessment after what happened on the 7th of October. But as I'm speaking to you now, it seems that Nasrallah doesn't want to get engaged full time in a war, in a full-fledged war with Israel. And I think that the warnings out of Israel had their effect.
And also the big presence of U.S. forces right here in the region. It's a big game changer when Nasrallah is engaged in war with Israel. Should the Americans get involved?
Well, I mean, let me ask you this, because as you said, that was obviously a major point of his speech where he said that this is 100% the Palestinians. It almost sounded like he was echoing the United Nations Secretary General Antonio Guterres by saying this doesn't happen in a vacuum. They've been oppressed for years. This is why they decided to do this. The actions are justified. But again, we support the Palestinians. Now, there's been a huge claim on the part of the Palestinians that they are finding it very hard to differentiate the fact that there are innocent Palestinians who also want a livelihood in this region of the world versus Hamas. And obviously, because Hamas being a terrorist group, suppressing a lot of people that want to speak out against that, knowing that their livelihoods are being made impossible and unbearable under Hamas's throat, surely they would take some kind of anger or outrage at Nasrallah's statement because they don't want to be put in the same bracket as Hamas.
You know, I think that the biggest defeat for the Palestinian people is the way that Hamas took power in Gaza. And why do I say that? Because in the minds of many, Hamas equals Palestinians. And you are absolutely right. Not all Palestinians are Hamas. And people get killed because of that. But I believe one thing, we will not be able to have any kind of settlement with any Palestinians as long as Hamas, Daesh exists. We will not, because they will do everything to prevent it. And this is why I'm so fully convinced that we have to destroy the leadership of the Hamas. We have to destroy the control of Hamas on Gaza if we want to live somehow in peace with our neighbors. And this is why I think also an overwhelming part of the Israeli population supports 100% our military intervention in Gaza.
Absolutely, which of course is what the Israeli military is trying to do at the moment, is trying to get rid of Hamas in the Gaza Strip. And I want to cross now to our correspondent Pierre Clochender, who's standing by for us in southern Israel. Pierre, some 2 hours ago you had a rocket being shot from the Gaza Strip into southern Israel, landing right near your position. What is the situation at the moment with artillery fire coming over the border into Israel and also going from outside into the Gaza Strip, striking Hamas terror targets?
Well, you said it all, Batia. There are still rocket alerts since 6 p.m. local time when we had a close-range impact 50 meters away from us. There's been other rocket alerts in the direction of Ashkelon that you can see behind me with the lights that are on. And look at what's going on with Roy Platzman, our cameraman. We're going to pan toward the south to the Gaza Strip, and it's a complete darkness where the Gaza Strip is located. Complete darkness because Israel has cut all the contacts it had with the Gaza Strip, including electricity that Israel was providing, water that Israel was providing to a certain extent. And thus, in the Gaza Strip, it's pitch dark, except for a few lights of some generators. But given that, that adds to the fog of war that the IDF has imposed on the whole ground offensive. And that's probably good because that allows the IDF maybe to move more discreetly. Now, what we've heard from the IDF spokesperson, Rear Admiral Daniel Agari, who just tweeted something, he said that the army has taken a stronghold of Hamas in the Jabalia refugee camp. The dozens of terrorists were killed in the battle, but what's more important is that they found a trove of intelligence, battleground maps, operation orders, lists of commanders, their position, locations, and that trove is going to be studied as we're talking very seriously in order to add to the extent of the ground offensive. Now, it's not all good news, of course. 25 soldiers have been killed in the past 7 days in the Gaza Strip since the ground offensive started last Friday. All in all, 330-something soldiers have been killed, many of them trying to defend the localities on October 7 and 8 during the massacres. 6 of them were killed on the northern border facing Hezbollah and the proxies of Hezbollah. And in the Gaza Strip itself, in the battleground, 25 soldiers, including a high-rank officer, reservists, and conscripted soldiers who are 19 and 20 years old. Now, the details of those soldiers also explain the scope of this ground offensive because it shows the numbers of units involved and the tasks the soldiers are tasked with in order to perform their duty inside Gaza.
Which is no easy task, which is why that number has obviously gone up to 341 IDF soldiers that have been killed since the start of this war on October 7th. And as you mentioned, Pierre, 25 of them just in the last couple of days in the Gaza Strip itself. This is obviously a very complicated war, but one that Israel has no choice but to win because it is faced with an existential crisis. Correspondent Pierre Clochender giving us an update from the south. Daniel Hagari for updates.
Since the start of the operation, we took down 10 Hamas terrorists, commanders of battalions. These are the leaders of the fighting that are on the ground commanding the fighting. They're among those who planned the terrible massacre on the 7th of October. We killed them and eliminated them. We'll continue to eliminate those who lead the battles against IDF. At any given moment, dozens of drones, together with the forces in sea and on ground, are ready to attack within minutes any terrorist and any threat. We execute a variety of special forces that include revealing and destroying Hamal terror tunnels, including those who are used by the Hamas operatives. IDF commanders and soldiers will have their Shabbat dinner tonight in Gaza. The morale is high, they're strong, they're determined, they're ready. They know what they're fighting for. They're fighting for us, they're fighting for you, they're fighting for our home here in Israel. In the north, IDF forces struck rocket launching sites and Hezbollah infrastructure in response to the firing of an anti-tank missile fired out of Lebanon. In addition, they fired towards suspects that arrived at the border. We'll continue to operate against anyone who attempts to fire at our territory. He will be eliminated. We will operate against any threat. In the Home Front Command, I call on the civilians to continue to follow the guidance. Even on Saturday, we should be vigilant. We remain at home or outside, but stay vigilant to save your lives and those of your loved ones. So far, we've given notices to families of 241 kidnappers. We continue the efforts to bring them all home. We've given notices to the families of 341 fallen IDF soldiers, together with 58 fallen policemen and members of the Shin Bet that have lost their lives during the battles. They're all heroes of the state of Israel, defenders of this land, the families of the fallen. I cannot imagine what you are going through on this Friday night. You should know that we are with you from now and forever. Questions, please.
We won't be staying for those questions again. This is the IDF spokesperson, Rear Admiral Daniel Hagari, who gives updates usually twice a day to the Israeli public, as well as to many of the, not just the Israeli media, but the international media. And I want to thank our senior editor, Guy Azrael, for translating that. Appreciate that. And I wanted to switch angles here because another major issue, apart from the IDF spokesperson unit updating the public on the military campaign, there's also the issue of the Israeli Prime Minister's office, the Foreign Ministry, putting out instructions also on a daily for some of the Jews around the world. And one that was striking today was they explicitly put out a joint statement saying to the Israelis and the Jews abroad, do not wear any symbols that can possibly identify you as a Jew because of the uptick in anti-Semitism. Now, as I'm sitting here with you, I've got a Star of David on my necklace. Should I be attacked for that because I'm an Israeli, because I'm a Jew, perhaps even because I identify with the symbol, or even maybe just like the symbol? Or is it a combination of all of this?
You should be praised for that, Batya, for wearing a Star of David. But in Israel, you have to be careful when you are abroad. I know that. I know that from my personal experience. Today, there is a wave of anti-Semitism that we have not seen in Europe and in the United States since World War II. We have not seen anything like that. Also, we have to understand now that the composition of Europe has changed. In many countries, you have big Muslim minorities, big Arab minorities. In France, for example, you have about 12% Muslim and Arabs. In Great Britain, you're about 8 or 9%. I mean, this is a difference now. When you look at the scenery in Europe, it is different. And I was amazed, by the way, to learn what's going on the campuses in the United States. This is incredible. You know, once that was the passion of pro-Israeli forces, and today it seems that pro-Muslim, pro-Hamas taken over. Now, today, there was a warning for Israeli to go abroad only if necessary. And this is a warning people should heed. Just to add.
Actually, sorry, I just want to interrupt because I do want to currently go to New York where I'm joined by a Columbia University student on that very topic that Abby Plasma just brought up. What is the feeling currently on campus? Have there been attacks, more attacks, I should say, on Jewish students? And have you personally felt or been targeted?
Thank you so much for having me. Absolutely, the situation on campus has been horrendous when it comes to situations of anti-Semitism. I mean, what we are seeing is just as you all were saying, we've never seen this before. Certainly not in the context of my generation and on our college campuses, which have previously been, especially I'm an undergraduate at Barnard College, which is one of the four undergraduate universities, undergraduate schools of Columbia University. We are particularly known for our sororal, uplifting, empowering sense of self and community and environment, and to have that flipped on its head entirely has been. I honestly I don't really have the words, but to say that it has been vulgar is absolutely not an exaggeration. It has been very, very difficult, and the attacks on our students, on my friends, started immediately after, within the first week of the October 7th attacks. An Israeli student was attacked himself for putting up flyers of images of the kidnapped and the killed by Hamas. So to say that this was an immediate correlation and result is absolutely accurate.
And anti-Semitism has billionaires bailing on Ivy League donations and many coming out and actually boasting that they are now quote-unquote proud to have never gone to an Ivy League university if this is the kind of narrative they want to put on display. Do you think that this is hurting the credibility of the academic institutions from a long-term point of view, or simply this is all contextual, meaning it will blow over once the war is done?
I have to say, I have previously been of the mindset that when it comes to old, revered American institutions, like particularly those of the Ivy League, I used to think there was not really anything that could happen to really change that overall understanding and elite reverence, really. After seeing the results of the war, and as it has spread now to a war on campus, seriously, this is a psychological war, if nothing else, what we are experiencing on campus. I do not think that any part of this event or war of this magnitude can really blow over. With that being said, I think whether or not we are able to move on from this with a strong sense of positive closure, it's up to the universities and the administrations to decide. They absolutely have the power not to let this affect how others see our institutions and how we frankly see ourselves, but whether or not they choose to exercise that power to ensure this is really up to them.
And just briefly, how would you like the administration of the university itself to be combating anti-Semitism? What would you personally like to be seeing more done in terms of making sure that Jewish students feel safe on campus?
So what we have seen so far, as I believe, as a direct result of our press conference, which I'm very happy to say has given us a strong sense of a renewed sense of hope that I think is unique to the Jewish people. Honestly, we've seen right now, at least at Barnard College, we have a new task force that is explicitly combating anti-Semitism in the various forms it has now presented itself on campus. So that is something that we explicitly asked for, something we really wanted to see. And in order to feel the support, is the add of financial and human resource support for the students who are feeling these attacks, myself included, and so I think the task force is absolutely the first step to that. So we are very, very glad to see that happen. And so what they end up doing after this is all, and this is only to say this is just the first step. So
genetic, neurodegenerative, and an ultimately fatal late-onset disease with currently no therapy. About 1 in 10,000 people live with Huntington's disease today.
Huntington's disease, there's a particular gene that is being affected. There's a genetic mutation.
In the region of the brain called the striatum, specific neurons are dying. This causes motor defects, problems with a person's ability to think, behave, and move. Each child of a parent with Huntington's has a 50% chance of inheriting the disease, affecting men and women equally.
We're asking ourselves, when do these cellular aggregates appear? When does the protein become insoluble and generate these deposits? When does it occur? Why does it occur? In which cell? And what sticks to it?
All these questions is what Professor Iran Meshorer is trying to answer, something he can follow using a microscope at the Hebrew University's Edmund and Lily Safra Center for Brain Sciences. He's using human stem cell models to study the very early stages of the disease before it happens, to see the first molecular changes, the biological alterations in the disease cells, to understand what's really going on.
The stem cells give us access to human brain-like tissue because we can turn these cells into brain organoids, into brain cells, into human nerves.
The incentive, eventually, is to come up with novel compounds, new drugs, new pathways that will lead to therapy.
Over 1,300 people murdered and more than 3,000 injured, and the war with Hamas continues. We bring you first-hand testimonies from the front lines, from those who survived, and all the records of the atrocities by Hamas. Follow us as Israel fights terror from the south and north. Get the inside scoop on what's going on. Only on I-24 News.
Hello and welcome to another breaking news edition. I'm Betsy Leventhal, coming to you live from Tel Aviv. Thanks for joining me. It is day 28 of war here in Israel. Rocket alert sirens continue to blare throughout the communities in the south and around the Gaza border. As of today, Friday, and as Israeli soldiers and armored vehicles continue to push well into the Gaza Strip, the casualties are subsequently rising too. Since the start of the ground incursion, 25 IDF soldiers have been killed in battle, raising the total number of soldier fatalities thus far since October 7th to 341. This in addition to the over 1,400 civilians murdered by Hamas and the 241 hostages currently being held in the Gaza Strip by the terror group. On the back of all this is a visit by U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken, his fourth now since the October 7th massacre. Here are some of Blinken's comments from his earlier press conference in Tel Aviv, followed by an address to the public by the Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu.
Days after Hamas's attack on October 7th, I came to Israel, followed soon thereafter by President Biden, to make clear that as long as the United States stands, Israel will never stand alone. Today, in my fourth visit to Israel since October 7th, I reiterate that in all my discussions with Prime Minister Netanyahu, President Herzog, the Security Cabinet. I reiterated and made clear our support for Israel's right to defend itself, indeed its obligation to defend itself. That includes through the additional assistance that we work with Congress and we're working with Congress now to provide for Israel's defense, as well as for urgent humanitarian needs in Gaza. This right to self-defense, indeed this obligation to self-defense, belongs to every nation. No country could, or should, tolerate the slaughter of innocents.
כוחותינו פועלים בכל הגזרות.
Our forces are working in all fronts and all locations. Our victories will be loud and clear. It will send a message to the enemy, one that will echo for generations. The enemy wants to destroy the state of Israel, and I tell you, and I'll tell them, our enemies will fail. They will be defeated. We will not stop until we reach victory, and until we reach all of our decided goals, eradicating Hamas, bringing back those kidnapped, and bringing back security for ourselves and our children. I appreciate the continued support of President Biden, the U.S. administration, and the American people. I made it clear that we will continue full force and we will refuse any ceasefire that would not include the liberation of our hostages. We will not transfer money to the Gaza Strip.
As the fighting intensifies in the south, eyes and ears are also on Israel's northern border following a speech by Hezbollah chief Hassan Nasrallah, who finally broke his silence on the war now 4 weeks into it.
What's happening in Gaza today is not like any other previous war. It's unlike anything that has ever happened before. It's not just another battle. It's a decisive and historic one. What unfolds after it will differ significantly from what it was before. With regards to our Lebanese front, as some were saying, His Eminence is going to announce joining the battle. We entered the battle on October 8th.
With me here in studio to analyze all this further is Reserve Brigadier General Israel Reddick Shafir, former commander of the Tel Nof Air Force Base and a former combat pilot for the Israeli Air Force, and our senior editor, Guy Israel. Good evening to you both. Guy, a few moments ago we were discussing Nasrallah's speech. We were discussing also the fact that this was a really hyped-up speech that may have dropped below expectations, as it didn't really reveal much, but it seems like the drama on that has continued.
Yes, first of all, as for Nasrallah himself, a rather subtle speech for him, despite the harsh rhetoric that we're used to, that is the act of Nasrallah distancing himself from the massacre of Hamas, saying he, like the rest of the world, heard about it on Saturday morning in the world media. Well, we can question that statement, but nonetheless, he understands very well what is the price that he will pay and his organization, Hezbollah, will pay should they take part in this war. And in an interesting development regarding this speech, the spokesperson for the Israeli government, Edan Levy, answers a question from one of the reporters. What did he think of the speech of Nasrallah? And his answer is not particularly diplomatic. Let's take a listen.
We listened to Hassan Nasrallah's long and rambling speech. I admit it was so boring. I don't know whether his speechwriter was killed in recent IDF strikes on Hezbollah up in the north. I would note that despite the large crowds, Mr. Nasrallah himself was not on stage. He was hiding in a bunker like a coward. And if I were giving a long hour-long speech defending the paedophile rapists of Hamas, I would be afraid to show my face in public as well.
Well, definitely opening another front, perhaps, with Nasrallah, as if we don't have enough troubles in our conflict with this group. Nonetheless, I'm sure we will hear more about that statement from Edan Levy, not a very diplomatic one. Regardless of this, in Israel, for the most part, I think a sense of relief in a way, because there was fear that Nasrallah could make more deliberate threats, more concrete threats about the Hezbollah's operation. There was even fear of rocket fire during his speech. We saw none of that. For now, it seems like Hezbollah is leaving Hamas to fight this war on its own. But as we all know very well from the events of October 7th, we should be extremely vigilant and not take anything for granted, including the potential of escalation with Hezbollah in the north.
Absolutely, and I do want to shift gears, speaking about the northern border and Hassan Nasrallah and a potential blowout of escalations there between the IDF and the terror group in the north, to the situation that's unfolding in the main battlefront being the south in the Gaza Strip. So I want to cross now to our correspondent Pierre Flashenberg, who's standing by for us in southern Israel. Pierre, there's been consistent sirens throughout today in the south, in the communities surrounding the Gaza border, with direct hits every now and then as well, because the interceptions haven't been 100%, as that is part and parcel of the Iron Dome. Yes, it protects Israeli but it's not 100% accurate, nor is its efficacy 100%.
Well, it's almost 100%. It's probably around 90%. We don't have the exact figures because the war is going on, but judging from past operations, and remember, there's been 15 operations against Hamas in Gaza since Hamas took over the Gaza Strip in 2007, and Iron Dome was activated in 2012. During one of those operations. In previous operations, the IDF would say that there was over 90% success of interception. Now, the problem is you don't want to intercept a rocket that you know that its trajectory is going to be an open field. That means that you don't want to waste a missile that costs around $300,000. And as a result, not every missile is intercepted. Now, when there is a flurry of rockets, a huge salvo, it's more difficult, of course, to intercept all of them because Iron Dome could be overwhelmed to a certain extent. But given that what happened here in Sderot, for instance, when a rocket hit a healthcare center or a kindergarten, we're not sure, just 50 meters away from where we're standing right now. There was no interception, and it's very possible that we're on the outskirts of one of the localities on the Gaza border, and we're in between the open field and the urban area. And as a result, maybe the Iron Dome operators thought that it wasn't worth just intercepting it. I don't know. In any case, here behind me, you see it's pitch dark. And you see from time to time the flares or explosions. You hear more than what you see. But given that, I want Roy Platzman, our cameraman, to show you the contrast. This is Ashkelon. This is the southern tip of Israel vis-à-vis the Gaza Strip. And of course, there is light. There is even an electric power plant just nearby. But when you go back to Gaza, it's pitch dark. And one of the reasons is that Israel, after October 7, decided to cut all ties with Gaza. People are not aware, people are saying there is a blockade around Gaza. But Israel, until October 7, would give electricity and water to the Gaza Strip, would allow export, would allow import to the Gaza Strip. And that is over. And now it's pitch dark, apart from some long generators are activated by fuel that people who have the money can activate and have some light. And that adds to the fog of war, obviously, because they cannot really see the movement of the troops unless they have night vision, and they probably have, but maybe not everyone. Now, the operation is going on in the sector that is behind me. This is Bet Hanun, and further south in the Jabalia refugee camp, and even on the outskirts of Gaza City, and probably inside as well.
All right, Bonner giving us an update from the south. Appreciate that. Continue staying safe. Still with me here in studio, Guy Azrael and Brigadier General Israel Relik Shafir. I want to ask you, because something else that has made a big development today with U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken being in the region is that the Pentagon has now confirmed that it is assisting Israel with unarmed drones, if I'm not mistaken, in trying to locate the hostages. Can you explain a little bit about how exactly something like that is done, in particular if hostages are being kept underground in some of this insanely large tunnel network?
Well, we don't know the actual facts and the technical and technicalities, but there are certain technical apparatus that can tell you whether there's a tunnel below you and the size of the tunnel by sending
fully understand. Many have been calling to cut the head of the snake off of the organization, but we forget that the political echelon of Hamas is sitting in Qatar and in Turkey, in villas, in hotels. They're being hosted by these nations. When they talk about these commanders, they're the military commanders, correct?
Yeah.
So how would you explain sort of the breakdown between if we have to go on this narrative of cutting off the head of the snake, are we doing enough from the IDF's perspective of simply getting rid of the military commanders and some of the terrorists that support or are embedded in Hamas as opposed to the leadership itself?
Well, at the end of the day, it's a military operation group that has commanders telling the foot soldiers, so to speak, what to do, when to do it, how to do it. They teach them. They have the know-how, the better know-how, the training, etc. So if you do away with even lower echelon commanders who are the telling the operator how to work, when to go out, etc., that obviously strikes down their capability. But let's have no mistake on that. These people, being professional as we've seen them so far, can still operate even under pressure. And there is always, for every commander, is always a replacement. And so I think it isn't until we take the top level and we put pressure on them before they collapse that things will change. Either a lot of them will be killed, or they feel that they're losing their command system, control system, communication system, so they can't even tell their foot soldiers what to do. We may not be there yet, but that is what the IDF is trying to do.
And gentlemen, stay with me. I want to shift gears a little bit from the military, the tactical, and the political to another issue that is springing up evidently. Anti-Semitism and anti-Zionism have seen an unbelievable rise across the globe following Hamas's October 7th massacre and Israel's retaliation. In fact, speaking earlier today, UN Secretary of State Anthony Blinken said that it is shocking that the sheer brutality of Hamas's massacres has receded in the memories of many. Members of Congress, celebrities, schools, athletes, artists, and popular establishments are condemning Israel and supporting Hamas. The world appears bleak, but despite the darkness, there are absolutely beacons of light. Many individuals and companies are also standing with Israel and condemning anti-Semitism. On that topic, I want to cross now live to the Czech Republic, where I'm joined by Lucas Clement, a cyclist who rode in support of Israel. Lucas, thank you so very much for joining us this evening. You did not ride a small distance. Tell us a little bit about the ride that you did, and also the fact that you are not Jewish. So why did you feel so strongly about doing this?
Like first I just ride my bike, and I finding my limit. So it was think how I can show my support to my friends in Israel. So I decided to make something big, like to make the biggest starter of the David in the world right now. My plan was different. I was supposed to be in South Africa, but it was destiny. I need to do something like this. I make two triangles, put them on the map, and start planning the roads to make the symbol of part of the David. Then make the roads, pack all of my stuff to my bike, sleeping bag, and stuff like this. And start riding every day, 80 hours sleep, and after 9 days it was done. It was like 300 more than 300 kilometers per day. I have time for thinking about it. It was hard for me to do it, but lots of people support me from Israel, from Czech Republic. I it was something what I want to do for my friends, and it works. It make them hope, and right now it's growing to something bigger. And you ask me that I'm not Jewish, but it's not about religion. I have friends, and it is my friend. It's not about on something like religion. It's like I can support them, and I feel it's the best way how to do it because I like interesting cycling, and I did it. It makes lots of smiles. It make hope in people, and
So you're
I
getting
don't know.
reactions from many Israelis or many Jews around the world that have seen your post?
Yeah, sure. Lots of messages which pushes me during the road. Yeah.
It's just unbelievable, and I thank you very much for taking a stand and supporting Israel's rights to not only self-defense but also to show the symbols of Judaism. It's just a little bit more than what it means to be Israeli, but also to be Jewish, especially in a time when anti-Semitism is rising. And if I can just ask you, if you had to give a message apart from cycling to Jews and to Israelis at the moment worldwide, what is your message to them, Lucas?
I said in my post on Facebook or Instagram, I don't know, that this symbol is not visible, and this symbol is something big, which not possible to destroy. It's strong. It takes me some time, and you can see that it's only on map. I don't know why, but it uh, make people fun. Yeah, I don't know how to say it. It's lots of words in my head, but I don't know. It's in people. It's my job, and they see it like they step on Instagram. And if you ask me what is my message is uh, these small things can make something bigger, something good.
Absolutely, that really is the message that something small can be turned into something big. And I want to thank you very much. And kudos to you for that incredible ride and your support for Israel. Lucas Clemens, a cyclist who rode in support of Israel, thank you for joining us from the Czech Republic. And I want to thank our guests here in studio. Thank you very much, both of you, for joining me. And still on the general topic, however, with regards to this, the Australian star of the show's Vampire Diaries, Nathaniel Vuzolich, also known on social media as Nate Buzz, landed in Israel in the middle of the war, saying he decided to come here to show his followers, of which there are millions, and the rest of the world, the truth and the reality of what's happening in Israel. Our correspondent earlier today, Robin Swift, met up with him. Here's his interview.
So we're having a quick seat out of the sun because we've just been walking around, seeing some of the sights here at Stero and hearing some of the experiences, including that, but also thinking about the rest of the time that you've been here in the country. What's some of the harder things that you've seen? What have you seen whilst you've been here?
I went down to the kibbutz in very close to, right now we're in Sderot. So it's, I think the hardest thing for me, besides seeing the destruction and the mayhem, and even going into rooms where there's physical evidence of blood that's been spilled by Hamas, the hardest thing for me is seeing the pain in people's eyes. You know, the family members, the friends, the survivors who you can see in the back of their eye they'll never be able to erase what they saw. That's been the hardest for me.
And can you talk to me a bit about your motivations? What originally brought you to here when you saw that the war was breaking out? And also, what are the reactions that you've had, both good and bad, to the comments you've been posting and to what you've been talking about here?
Yeah, I'm a Christian, And I believe that a Jewish man saved my life. And so, one commandment that Jesus made to his disciples is that we need to be willing to lay down our lives for others. And I know how deeply my God loves the Jewish people. And so, I had no choice. I had to come. And although it was difficult to convince my mum and those who cared about me most, I really felt that Hashem had called me to be here, not only to share the truth about what's happening, but also to stand in solidarity with the people that need hope right now. It's one thing to be on social media and say, hey, be brave, be strong. But it's a different message when you come and stand amongst them and say, hey, be brave, be strong, I'm here with you. And so for me, it's important to share the love of who Yeshua is in my own life, and I can only do that through action. And so to answer your second question, you asked me what was good and bad reactions. The good and bad reactions. Look, even right now, before I got to Starot, I had people who I know who were accusing me of standing with the wrong side in human history. How could you support this nation that has been oppressing the people for 75 years? How can you support this nation as they continue to hit targets in Gaza? And the one reality I've realized with all the people who are trying to stand against me, friends, even distant family members, is they're constantly and consistently trying to remove the elephant in the room, Hamas. They don't want to bring it up, they don't want to talk about it, and they don't want to accept the reality that as long as Hamas remains, the Palestinian people will never be free. These people claiming that they want to liberate these people, but they have no desire to liberate them from the one true problem that not only the Palestinian people have, but that we have here in Israel right now, and the rest of the world is going to have if this wicked ideology isn't put to an end. And so nobody wants to talk about Hamas, nobody wants to address that reality, but that's what I see. I would rather blame Israel for everything than actually take responsibility and say the problem exists with this wicked ideology that cannot coexist and does not desire to coexist. So that's the problem. Getting people back to the reality. Hamas.
Okay. You're talking a lot about Hamas and their actions inside Gaza. There's a lot of other voices from the world of Hollywood who we might not be talking about Hamas, but they are very much talking about the Palestinians and the huge numbers of people that are dying inside Gaza, very close to where we sit. A lot of those voices are very critical of Israel. What would you say to them, having seen what you've seen over the days that you've been here?
I say to them that we didn't care about the Palestinian children 12 months ago when they were being forced to accept an Islamic ideology that called them to martyr themselves. I would say you didn't care about the Palestinian 12 months ago when Hamas was stealing aid, food, resources so they could continue their war machine. You care now because it makes you look good, but you don't really care about the Palestinian people, and more than that, you don't care what happens to them moving forward. It seems like you only care about hating Jewish people. I mean, that's what it comes down to. Celebrities all over the world, the people of influence, seem to jump on any bandwagon that promotes and supports hatred towards Jews. And I'll be honest, that's what they're doing right now. It seems like it's too easy to hate Jews, and it's too hard and too complicated to hate Hamas, even though we know what Hamas is capable of. I would say, think about the baby that was put in an oven and the mother that was raped by a Hamas terrorist. He was once a Palestinian child. He was once a Palestinian child. A Palestinian child that you claim to be innocent. So I would ask you the question, when did that innocence get stripped from them? How do you go from a child to a radical extremist who is willing to kill in the most atrocious ways? If you don't care about them when they become terrorists, and you only care about them when they become children, it says a lot about how you see the world.
And final thoughts about media, not just being on social media and then coming here yourself. Is this the first time you've been in a war zone? And if so, how have you felt with the experience? How do you think it's changed you, or how do you see yourself now afterwards?
This is not the first time. In 2016, I went to Iraq, despite everybody telling me not to, and I volunteered in various refugee camps from people fleeing ISIS, Daesh. It's the same evil. It's the same evil. It's the only reason God wants to consistently bring me to the places where evil exists. And I hope that the purpose of that is to bring a glimmer of light and hope to those who have now faced the greatest evil. That right now, people are having a conversation
conversation about whether it is righteous or wickedness, which is bizarre to me. And so whatever happens on social media, I, this time in Israel, meeting heroes like Roman, who is willing to put his life on the line to save others. If this time and this week in Israel has taught me anything, it's my love for Israel has grown stronger. My belief in Hashem has grown stronger. And it's almost as if my heart has been galvanized to these people. Since the outbreak of this war, our journalists here at I-24 News have been providing around-the-clock coverage and giving a voice to all those impacted by the October 7th massacre, and while gaining perspectives on the whole right through Israeli society, an impact on the entire Middle East. Here are some of the best stories from our coverage since this war began.
Yoav receives a call. He's been answering this line benevolently for over 15 years. On the other side of this line is someone in need of psychological help. Since the Hamas massacres on October 7th, the call's content has changed drastically.
Many of the calls are related to fear of rockets, sirens, kidnapping, or murder. There are also people who are worried about their loved ones. What happened on October 7th is a trauma for the whole country.
Yoav is one of the Iran organization's 1,600 volunteers in Israel. For years, Iran has been offering a listening ear and psychological support to its residents. While Iran receives 1,000 calls a day before the war with Hamas, this figure has now tripled. Since the beginning of the war, the calls have been even more heartbreaking than usual. In the first hours, the talks were unimaginably violent. Children from Sderot, from Netivot, from the Gaza border, who were at the heart of the events. It's very difficult for volunteers. For example, calls from young people who are still at the festival attacked by Hamas. With specialized lines for soldiers, the ultra-Orthodox and Arab populations, for example, and accessibility in many languages, Iran targets a wide audience. The patients who call are people like you and me. That's why all of our calls are anonymous. Let's take the example of a soldier or a mobilized person who's scared because his unit is going to enter the Gaza Strip. So he talks to a volunteer who listens to him and normalizes his feelings. For the volunteers, these talks are also difficult. They are affected by the calls they receive. Although Iran provides them with the tools to cope with the weight of the calls, this burden stays with them long after they've hung up. I share the emotions of people who call, and it affects me. When I'm on a call, I can't cry with the people, even though sometimes I do. I try to find strength in them, listen to them, or maybe find someone around them to help. Most of the time, people just need to be listened to, but it's very trying, and these situations come home with me. Iran is available to all Israelis, offering an
7th that turned southern Israeli communities along the Gaza border into enclaves of horror, where terrorists systematically broke into homes, searching for civilians to kill or kidnap, burning down houses with families inside when they failed, where survivors hid for 8.5 hours locked inside safe rooms waiting for rescue. By the time help arrived, all the terrorists had already made their way back over the border.
We are 400 people in this community. 100 people they took for murder. So once or four, every fourth people is not with us today.
The devastation is apparent, as are the relics of the life that once was. Traces of the families, of the children, of the grandparents who once tended their gardens.
Everything was so safe, now it's gone, nothing. They burn our soul, they really burn our soul.
The kibbutz of Ner Oz was one of the hardest hit by the Hamas incursion into Israeli territory. Located under 2 miles from the border, residents have a clear view into the Gaza Strip. From this house, Hadassah's children fled from those who infiltrated their community.
The last message I got from them, 8:30 in the morning, he told me they jumped from the window and hide in the bush behind the house.
But with Hamas gunmen inside the kibbutz, there's nowhere to hide.
The last message I got from my son was, Mom, be careful, be quiet. I love you. That's what he told me. And my daughter, she said, Mom, this is the last message. They've been terrified.
She hasn't heard from them since. 3 weeks of agony, she says.
Every Holocaust day they say, never again. There will never be a second Holocaust like there have been. But the fact that my family would have to sit in a secure room, 2.5-year-old Nana with his parents shivering for 20 hours, never occurred to me. My name is Naftali. In 2 months, I will be 91 years old. From 1942 to 1945, I was in concentration camps where this photo was taken. I'm here on the 3rd month. This photo was taken 4 days after the liberation. I thought I was free, but I was very sad, as if I was left alone in the world. We came to the conclusion that Jews have a certain place in this world. It's here, in the land of Israel. We thought that here we would build a strong and secure state for all the Jews of the world. On Saturday morning, I heard there were alarms in the south. So I immediately called my daughter Ronit and asked her what was happening with my granddaughter, Faraza. And she said that at the moment she had no contact, and she hoped everything was fine. We didn't hear anything. We didn't know. We were terribly anxious. And they started showing how a tractor dismantled the fence there. And they walked in as if on a straw. And just here's the big thing. I believed in the government. I believed in the army. But no one came. And Mika, my granddaughter, with her husband Sethi, and my 2.5-year-old great-grandson Nana, were inside the safe room. They were shaking and afraid. They were left without electricity, without a telephone, without food. Sethi tied the handle of the safe room with a telephone wire so they wouldn't get in. They both stood with knives in their hand. Maybe that would save them. They heard shouting and gunshots at the house of their neighbors. Good friends burned down. She didn't know if they would come or not. Only at 2 in the morning, I think, did the IDF finally arrive at their house and release them. And all 3 are in good condition, healthy. So at the moment, a weight was lifted from my heart. We all relaxed. Nana's grandparents, grandmother Carmen and her partner Zeke, were murdered in Faraza. Brutally murdered, as far as we know. They say they are Nazis. It's hard for me to compare them to Nazis. They used the method of Nazis. They came to murder Israeli Jews. know that some kibbutz survivors from the Gaza Strip tattooed the date on their forearms. They have a right to do that because that's how they feel. So if it makes them feel better, why shouldn't they do it? In the Holocaust, a bit of luck was not enough to survive. I must have survived because I had a lot of luck. And what happened on October 7th is another huge bit of luck that my granddaughter and her husband and my sweet great-grandson were saved from the inferno that happened. To all the discouraged people, I can say that time has an effect. It's impossible to remain in eternal trauma, and it's human nature to recover and move on. Man is looking to the future.
Kibbutz Givin near the Gaza Strip, adjacent to the southern city of Sderot, was not severely hit by the brutal terror attack by Hamas on October 7th. But things could have been very different. As Gil Schwartzman, a member of the kibbutz, tells I-24 News about the dramatic moment.
At around 7 a.m., I heard gunshots surrounding me. I got a call from the local security coordinator. He said, "I've been shot. I'm injured." I called the standby squad and we came to help him. Another car was shot at, and the guy there was shot in his head, but he survived. Another car was also hit by gunshots and grenades. We counted 45 bullet holes in the car. The local security chief got hit in his leg, and I had to take his place. We also had a lot of luck, perhaps even divine providence. I want to show you something special. This gate took a lot of bullets. When we opened the gate, look at the shape of the bullet exit hole.
Kibbutz Givin was established in 1947, a few months before Israel declared its independence. Over the years, it's known many challenges due to its sensitive location.
In the beginning, people lived here in tents. In July 1947, this structure was built to protect the residents from attacks by Egyptians. Members of the kibbutz lived in tents and small cabins.
Schwartzman is one of 16 people of the standby squad, the only ones to remain in the kibbutz out of its 617 members. When we walk around, we see empty houses. But thanks to Schwartzman and the few people who are left here, the kibbutz is not neglected, and even the local dairy is functioning.
I was in Germany on a family vacation when the situation started. After a few days I came back. It's a bit strange to be here. I'm alone here, except for a few people and soldiers. But what can I do?
Outside the kibbutz, we visit Salta, which Schwartzman directs. This startup hub is home to dozens of high-tech companies which develop revolutionary inventions from 3D printers to FSMP platforms.
We've been active for 6 years. All the companies have told me that they are not leaving this hub. Other companies have been interested in participating in this project. It's the first high-tech hub in the Netherlands, and one of the biggest and most successful. High-tech always has a future. I have no doubt that in 2 years, when you come back to visit, we'll have expanded to 50 countries.
Despite the horrific tragedy, Schwartzman is still optimistic and says he believes that most of the residents will return to their home eventually, that Givin and the high-tech scene will flourish, perhaps a ray of hope in this dark time in the South.
With every minute of every day, the battle to bring home the 239 hostages intensifies.
Yeah, I feel it every day. When I wake up in the morning, I can sometimes wake up okay and feel filled with energy, and sometimes I'm like, I'm not getting out of the house forever. I can't get out of bed sometimes, and I have a dog, and I can't even walk with her because I keep remembering how Romy used to come sleepovers, and she was supposed to guard my dog when I was supposed to be in Australia right now.
Yarden Gonen, the older sister of 23-year-old Romy Gonen, refuses to give up hope. And like so many other families of the kidnapped, they have a place to call home.
Okay, so try to imagine that if you see only black in your eyes, you feel like you're gonna collapse every minute. You don't know what to do or who to speak with, who to strength, we have the connections, and we will make it through together. You have a family here that is taking care of you, whether you're here or not, and we will bring them home. The Hostages and Missing Family Forum has been a lifeline, a giant center that sprung into action immediately after the tragedy of October 7th.
We had to hit the ground running because it was an emergency. Nobody planned for it. We didn't have months to prepare for it. The strategy was to put maximum pressure on whoever to make sure that we bring them home as soon as possible. Because you must realize this is now the only ongoing civil emergency in Israel. Every day that passes poses a danger to the people out there.
A team of over 1,500 volunteers from many different industries are working around the clock. And the Tel Aviv space is growing so fast that they relocated today to a larger facility. Niva Ben-Sion is one of about 25 mental health professionals volunteering full-time to help the families cope.
So helping other people is my business. So that's what I do. And when everything started, I knew that I had to do something. You need to understand that people that you meet here are the most strong people. They're put together, they're fighting, they're in fight mode. And for that, they need to be strong and resilient. And this is what they do. And we're here to support that because it's a roller coaster.
The Hostages and Missing Family Forum also has the top brains in the medical, diplomatic, legal, and forensic industries on the case.
The most experienced negotiators in this kind of situation, be it the previous head of Mossad, the head of the previous head of Shin Bet.
What we're trying to do is to make sure that every ambassador in Israel hears the family story and make sure that their government is doing their utmost. We're sending delegations all over the world.
And the media, communications, and social media volunteers also have a huge task when it comes to battling the international wave of anti-Semitism and anti-Israel rhetoric.
And it's immediate, and it's the most costly part of it. We're running campaigns all over the world. Social media, we have billboards, we have those trucks in every country in the world.
And for your Gonen and other families like her, they will never lose hope.
This right here shows what Am Yisrael is.
Yeah.
Right here. You put this in
Wow, exactly. It's like we always say in Hebrew, כשהגלים מתחזקים החזקים מתגלים. It means that when the waves get stronger, you can see the strong people through them. And this is exactly what's happening here. They're doing everything. They just rise up from the ashes and do everything for us. And it's Am Yisrael at its best. Emily Francis, I-24 News. On that Saturday morning, as they rampaged through southern Israel, dozens of terrorists also attacked the city of Sderot and tried to take over the police station. One of the police officers at the station was Master Sergeant Mor Shakuri, a 29-year-old resident of the city. She called me and said, "Mom, it's important for me that you know that if I don't survive, I love you. I love Dad, and take care of my sister." When they realized that there were terrorists outside the station, several police officers went up to the roof and fought them from there. They remained there for 8 hours, fighting a non-stop battle, while Sderot's standby squads fought the terrorists from the outside. Her commander came to me at 7 o'clock and told me she led us, said how many were injured. She spoke with the paramedic, with everyone, and believe me, I didn't even feel that she was in distress. I know more. She does not give up. If she was a coward, she would be alive with me. Moore was supposed to get married in June to her partner David. He's also a police officer.
She was killed during a battle she was leaving, and she shot terrorists and rescued the wounded, and in the end protected the residents of the south. It's not something that comforts us and brings her back, but it is something, giving us
was drawn pistols, 4 cartridges on her. Do you understand? And with all the pain, I'm proud of her, but she contributed and safeguarded us. For 4 years, we were on the same path. She was simply a fighter.
The late Captain Eden Nimri, a squad commander in the Artillery Corps, was supposed to complete her service as a swimmer, but decided that she wanted to serve as a fighter. On Saturday morning, she was with her team at the base in Naha'oz when terrorists broke into it.
We got up on Saturday with the intention of having a picnic at the base, at the outpost, which is not her outpost. She has been serving on the northern border for the past year. She had just replaced a team that was there on holiday, and we planned to come to her to have a picnic there.
When they realized that the base had been infiltrated, she and her team jumped out of bed and barefoot in pajamas, they went out to fight the terrorists.
Eden and her team ran to the protected area, where they already found something like 30 terrified female observers. She and 4 female warriors were the only ones with weapons. She took the side that was closer to the entrance and everything was quiet. And with the gestures, she pointed where to aim, drew the weapon, terrorists entered, and her female warriors and Eden eliminated them.
This is the last photo that Eden actually took. As you can see that at first she was really with them on this side. If you think it was a protected room, well, she was initially on the exposed side, and then she jumped to the other side to cover the other opening.
Eden stayed fighting and was killed by terrorist fire. Only 2.5 days later did her family receive the notification of her death.
She was always a fighter, always wanted to be equal among equals, whether in swimming, whether in theater, whether in school graduation ceremonies. She didn't feel unequal. She thought she deserved it. She was always ahead.
I am angry with her, yes. She shouldn't have been there.
On Saturday morning, 90 newly enlisted recruits were at the Zikim base. At the gate, Sergeant Eden Alon Levy, a rescue fighter, was with one of the rookies. She immediately understood the danger.
About 10 terrorists arrived there, equipped with RPGs, grenades. They started shooting at them and the staff. The officers joined her in the battle. Her entire staff fell with her.
6, including Eden, along with another recruit, were killed in this battle and managed to prevent the occupation of the camp and save the recruits.
I think that Eden's story undoubtedly proves how much female fighters can do, and even more. I'm just proud of her and hope I can be as brave as her. Yes, she is simply a hero, everyone's hero.
Eden had finished a military training course 2 months ago and was supposed to go on to officer's course. In addition, she was supposed to go to pilot training in a week after she decided that there were other targets she hadn't conquered. What do you miss the most?
That she came here to harass me. Even when I didn't have the strength. Sorry, it's just... You come here and just run out of energy, get straight into bed, and she'd just come, yell at me like, what's going on, and this. I miss her teasing. She should come and tease, big time.
In this war, more and more heroic stories of brave women are being reported. We know so far that 37 female soldiers were killed, 7 female police officers, a Shin Bet woman, and a paramedic on duty. Women who paid with their lives, while others continue to fight, even now.
نسمع أخبار بس إحنا كنا بعاد بس يوم الاثنين لما تلقينا خبر جبرائيل كأنه صاعقة بالنسبة لنا لأن نعرفها قديش هي إنسانة مقطوعة، إنسانة حنونة، إنسانة بتدير بالها على ابنها كأنه ابنها
فاضل محمد أبا بنعلمك يعني لو كمان وتشرك الأقسام תמיד כשאני מסיע את יפתח לרחבה, תמיד כשאנחנו מגיעים היא מקבלת אותנו בסבר פנים יפות וכאילו מחכה שיפתח יגיע וכל הזמן שמחה ועוזרת היא פה כדי לעזור לכולם והיא חסרה לנו מאוד
היא מכילה אותם, היא מקדמת אותם, הם מאוד אוהבים את גבריאלה, מאוד מאוד מתגעגעים אליה ואנחנו מאוד מבקשים מכל מי שיכול לעשות ולקדם את הנושא של השחרור שלה וכמובן של כל החטופים, זה יעזור לכולנו. بس بتمنى وبتوجه لكل المسؤولين لكل المعنيين انه يفتشوا عنها وعن بنتها عن كل الرائحات لانهم هم في طريقهم هذول الاولاد تربيه خاصه بدهم حنان بدهم حب اللي هو موجود عندها نتامل احنا املنا بالله كبير ان شاء الله ترجع
selection of some of the amazing discussions that we've had over the course of the past almost a month now. Israel had war. Thanks for watching. I'm sorry about that stuff.
Israel is officially in a state of war.
It's a very active scene, and we need to get in the car as we're talking. 100 soldiers and civilians have been kidnapped.
We just don't know anything.
5 families, including babies and children and elderly, were butchered in their beds, awaiting the giant. And we are ready and we are standing.
Everyone is showing up. This is the unity.
Esta semana en el 24, Israel bajo ataque. El 24 en español trae el análisis y la información de los acontecimientos de la guerra Espadas de Hierro.
Entrevistas exclusivas, reportes desde la zona de guerra, la reacción de los países hispanoparlantes.
El 24, el único medio en español que te mantiene informado y conectado con la comunidad latina en Israel. El 24, únicamente en I24 News.
And welcome to this breaking news edition. I'm Dr. Liverpool coming to you live from Tel Aviv. Thanks for joining me. It is day 28 of war here in Israel. Rocket alert sirens continue to blare throughout the communities in the south and around the Gaza border. And roughly 30 minutes ago, rockets being fired toward Tel Aviv and our studios right here in Jaffa. Supposedly 6 Gaza rockets launched and intercepted over Tel Aviv. Now, as of today, Friday, and as Israeli soldiers and armored vehicles continue to push well into the Gaza Strip, the casualties are subsequently rising as well. Since the start of the ground incursion, 25 IDF soldiers have been killed in battle, raising the total number of soldier fatalities thus far since October 7th to 341. This in addition to the over 1,400 civilians murdered by Hamas and the 241 hostages currently being held in the Gaza Strip by the terror group. On the back of all this was the visit by U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken today, his fourth now since the October 7th massacre. And with me here in studio to analyze all this and more is Rafael Yerushalmi, a former senior IDF intelligence officer and a security analyst. First and foremost, CNN's main headline this evening happens to say that the IDF confirms that it did indeed strike an ambulance in the Gaza Strip. However, what the CNN headline fails to mention was the reason why they struck that ambulance in the Gaza Strip. So perhaps, Rafael, you can shed some light on that.
I think maybe they didn't have enough room to finish the sentence, which is typical of CNN. The screen is very small, and I think that most of the time they can give you an excellent 50% of the information, and then you have to wait a little sometimes to get the other 50% or never. This week, another press channel said that the word terrorist was not used for Hamas because it's better to say militants because terrorist is used in any other kind of way. I think the term journalist, as applied to CNN people, is also used wrongly. They are not journalists, they're not doing their job. The info is absolutely clear from the start. This ambulance was driven by terrorists. There were terrorists in the ambulance with weapons. All the proofs are there. We had info, and that's why the ambulance was hit. One of them was clever enough to take his cell phone with him, so that was a no-brainer for the intelligence of the Israelis. One must understand that many of the staff of the hospitals of Gaza belong to the opposition, to the Hamas. A lot of people in Gaza hate the Hamas, we forget that. And inside of these hospitals, in many places in Gaza, we have people who will help us, who will help the Israelis because they want to free Palestine from Hamas. And that's why we know exactly when terrorists are taking an ambulance, where they're hiding somewhere and trying to bluff us. So the fact that CNN doesn't know how to work is not our problem. They are not professional, they are biased, and it's very regretful because it's an important channel viewed by many people who think, unfortunately, that they're getting information. But that is the way they operate. They call terrorist militants. When you will suppress in the West Bank a terrorist, they will say Palestinian killed by the IDF. And then, as we said, they don't have enough room on the screen to continue that this Palestinian was actually a terrorist armed with weapons going to kill civilians. That's very regretful. We have to understand that we will not win that war against disinformation. Propaganda of hatred against Israel is a flood that we might, but we will win another one that might be a little more important than propaganda.
Rafael, let me ask you this question because during our last broadcast, we had to evacuate the studio about a minute before we actually finished our broadcast because we got the red alerts that incoming rockets from the Gaza Strip were being fired at Central central Israel, namely Tel Aviv, and our studios here in Jaffa having to evacuate to the safe room. The rockets tend to have, yes, slowed down coming into Israeli territory, evidently, because the IDF is now operating well into the Gaza Strip and trying to stop the terrorists from doing that, as well as eliminating the terror group and trying to rescue and find some of the hostages. So the question is then, where are they firing these rockets from? Because if IDF is operating in the north and the civilians have been evacuated to the south, does that mean that Hamas is still firing rockets within civilian territory?
Of course, in any case, but there are 2 points. The first point is very simple. As spectacular as the advance of the Israeli troops may be, we are far from having achieved all our goals. We have by now, maybe 10% of our operation has been achieved. We've got 90% to go. The Gaza City, for instance, in the north, is a very intricate place. It's going to take weeks to invest and to arrest everybody there. So they can still fire even from there, even though we are encircled in the north. Inside the north, that's still. Then the second thing is, whether it's south or north, you have the different kinds of missiles. Long-range missiles, you need a concrete built-up launching pad. This launching pad will be destroyed usually when they will fire like towards Tel Aviv, like they did now. The IDF will spot the launching pad it was fired from and destroy it. Then they have to use another one, but they built many. So they're all hidden, so they have to use them for us to spot them and then destroy them. For all the other calibers and range of missiles that they have, it's enough to put them on the truck. And the launching is on the truck. You can take this truck into an orchard at night or in a back alley, shoot, and then the truck moves away and escapes. And for the much shorter range missile, it's enough 2 guys on a motorbike. So the mobile launching pads are the problem. The fixed ones for larger missiles, and there are many of them, they have to be destroyed one by one, and it will take time because there are many of them that have been built, they're all hidden, and when we destroy one, then another appears. And that's it, we're only at the beginning of this operation. We're far to go. We've killed dozens and dozens of terrorists. We've got to kill another 20,000. I mean, we've got a lot of work ahead of us.
Rafael, stay with me. I want to talk to our correspondent Mary McCall, who's standing by for us in northern Israel to get an update from there. Now, Mary, in recent moments, a Hamas official, a senior Hamas official in Lebanon, says that it's time for Hezbollah to, quote, walk the talk after the fiery speech made by Hassan Nasrallah earlier today. This is an interesting comment to make because from the speech, it didn't sound like Hezbollah was going to be getting involved in this war, at least at all, rather saying that this was a Palestinian fight. Is Hamas kind of giving off some kind of resentment, disappointment?
Well, I think we've seen these messages coming out from within Hamas, at least sources close to Hamas, that they really did expect more of a robust response from some of the Arab countries, but also from other proxies in the region, other Iranian-backed proxies, namely Hezbollah. But instead, what we did see from Hassan Nasrallah earlier today was more doubling down on saying the big words, saying the things he needs to say, to give the Palestinian people to say that Hezbollah is there with Hamas, that they're standing as brothers and actually stand by them in arms and so much. There's a lot of big talk about them standing behind the Palestinian people. But Nasrallah also seemed to distance himself from the cause a little bit today, saying that they fully support what's happening in Gaza, they fully support the actions by Hamas, they fully support the massacre of October 7th and all of the civilians who were killed there. This is all something Hezbollah stands behind, but also making it clear that this is a Palestinian struggle and that it was 100% planned by Palestinians in the name of Palestinians. So also appearing to say Hezbollah, they're saluting them, but they're also not going to go too far to get too involved into this conflict. I think Hezbollah knows very well that if they do get into this conflict with Israel, it is likely to be catastrophic, not just for Hezbollah, but also Lebanese people as a whole. The majority of Lebanese people are also against Hezbollah entering into a full-out confrontation with Israel. So I think this is exactly what we did hear from Nasrallah today, and Hamas was likely to be disappointed by that speech that they got from the leader, but it's probably not likely to be the first time that they've heard such words coming out of them. We know there have been ongoing discussions between Iranian leaders, Hamas leaders, as well as leaders of Hezbollah all throughout this conflict, that everybody's very carefully watching and listening to see what everybody's going to ask. But we did not hear a major declaration from Nasrallah. Rather, instead, he put that onus on the Israelis, saying it'll be an Israeli action that could cause Hezbollah to get further involved than it already has.
And Mary, just briefly, roughly 30, 40 minutes ago, we had rocket alert those sirens here in the center of the country. We know that they've also been relentless in the south, but what has been the situation on the northern border? Has there been rocket alerts? And has there been an exchange of fire today between the IDF and Hezbollah terrorists on the other side of the border?
We've had exchanges of fire, but they haven't been exchanges of fire that we haven't been seeing over the past 3 weeks since October 8th, when Hezbollah first got involved in this conflict by first sending rockets at Israeli communities. Most of the areas here have been evacuated, but we continue to see Hezbollah continue to target IDF posts as well as civilian areas, and then IDF responding back with strikes. We saw this again today. We haven't had any rockets since yesterday, but there was a massive barrage fired at northern Israeli communities and some damage done, as well as injuries caused in Kiryat Shmona. But today it's been a much quieter day.
I want to thank our correspondent Mary McCorder for all the updates that she has been providing us throughout the afternoon and the evening from the northern border. Thank you for that. Then I want to cross now to our correspondent Pierre Cluttenberg, who's standing by in the south of Israel. Pierre, 40 minutes ago, rockets were being fired from the Gaza Strip into Israel, into central Israeli territory. Did you by any chance manage to see them on the border? Give the viewers a little bit of a sense of when those rockets are being fired, if you're able to hear or at least see them from where you are.
From the sector where we were facing the northern Gaza Strip, we didn't see the launching of the rockets, simply because now the north of Gaza City is in control, or at least partial control, of the Israeli defense forces, and thus the rockets that are being launched are south of Gaza City. These rockets have a longer range. They carry a charge which is about 60 kilo, which is much deadlier than the rockets that are launched onto the localities, the communities that are facing the Gaza Strip. So because of that longer range, they are able to hit Tel Aviv from the southern tip of the Gaza Strip, for instance, or the central area of the Gaza Strip, Khan Younis or Rafah. So we can't see the launching now. But of course, when there are rocket alerts on Ashkelon, which is just behind me, if that happens, we would see the interceptions of the rockets. We would see the launching of the anti-missile missile that intercept those rockets.
Correspondent Pierre Cluttenberg, I want to thank you as well for your coverage throughout the late afternoon and this evening there from the south. Stay safe, and thank you very much again for that update. Still with me in studio, Rafael and Rishon. Rafael, I want to just switch gears because another part of the conversation that has been popping up today is the idea that thousands of Palestinians from the Gaza Strip who come into Israel as well as into the West Bank with permits to work because there is no livelihood or money to be made for them in the Gaza Strip, so they come through to Israel to be able to do so, are now being sent back. Is there a likelihood that following this war, Israel is going to be, dare I say the word, lenient with regards to this policy, or are they going to think it backwards? Because much of the intel that was given to Hamas was from many of these workers, not all, but many of these workers that crossed over into the border that were working in Israeli homes and companies.
Yes, the question is, did they know they were giving this information to prepare an attack? I mean, they might have been asked, like agents, like if you take the shipwreck, for instance, they can ask you questions that don't sound like anything. They just have a conversation with you, small talk, and through that small talk, they get information out of you. It's a different thing, like if these workers who are in Israel come back to Gaza, and there's an agent from the Hamas who tells them, we are going to prepare an operation and we want you to look at this and that for us, and when you come back, tell us what you saw. That's very guilty. But a lot of them have just been approached by Hamas operatives in a coffee shop and a small talk and asking them questions, whether you were interested. So we'll have to check that. This being said, we will have also to see how many of these people actually cooperated with Hamas, because we know, for instance, that if you take from the West Bank around 100 and more thousand Palestinian workers coming on a daily basis to Israel, we've had very few incidents, one here, one there, where it's a risk we have to take. We cannot have 100% certainty that none of them, but we can have that with anybody in the streets. Look at the United States, a guy can take a shotgun and keep going to school and give people. So this is a risk you have to take. When things will hopefully be better, when to again have these Palestinian workers come to Israel. It's a good thing for us. There is a danger, there is a risk, but I wouldn't say we're going to have to analyze how many and how they were approached.
But I'll stay with me. I want to move sort of from the military and the security side of things to the political and the diplomatic angle. And with that being said, I want to go now to La Paz in Bolivia, where I am joined by Sergio Mendoza, a digital media journalist for La Nube, a writer for Los Tiempos, and a freelance correspondent for Bloomberg. Thank you so much for taking the time to be with us here on this I-24 News Breaking Edition.
Thank you for the invitation, and I'm here to help you if you want.
I want to ask you because Bolivia's government severed diplomatic relations with Israel back on Tuesday, accusing it of carrying out crimes against humanity in Gaza. But there was absolutely no mention it being in retaliation or self-defense following Hamas's October 7th massacre. Is that the narrative that most of the government and the media in the country are taking too?
Yes, actually, the announcement of the Bolivian government was criticized by the political opposition, that they say that they didn't mention the attack that Hamas had made before October 7th to Israel population. So the announcement made by the Bolivian government, precisely by the Deputy Prime Minister, Freddy Mamani, has been very criticized. And some political opposition leaders say it doesn't represent, it is not the feeling of the Bolivian people, but it's people that are against the terrorist attack made by the Hamas group.
Now, Chile, Colombia, and Honduras have all somewhat followed suit, recalling their ambassadors to Israel as they criticize the Israeli military offensive against Hamas terrorists. But surely this cannot be about politics. Yes, it is known that all these nations have left-wing governments, but this goes beyond. What about protecting human rights, the idea of coexistence, not to mention protecting Jews worldwide, which are coming under attack also in Central and South America?
Yeah, well, the Bolivian government has a history of very criticized history of relations with Israel. It's not the first time that they have broken the diplomatic ties. In 2009, Evo Morales' government has done the same after an attack from Israel to Hamas in the Gaza Strip. So the Bolivian government, Bolivian government, some people they think that it's managed by Iran interests, Russian interests, and Chinese interests that are kind of supporting or are against the Israel government. So it's not the first time that something that is happened after the 2009 government of Janine Áñez reestablished these relations in 2020, and it hasn't lost too long.
Sergio Mendoza joining me all the way from Bolivia. Thank you so very much for your time this evening.
Thank you.
And still on the topic, but from one side of the world to the other, the famous Australian star who hit show The Vampire Diaries, Nathaniel Bozovich, was also known on social media as Nate Buzz, landed in Israel in the middle of a war, saying he wanted to come here and show his followers the truth. Our correspondent Robert Swift sat down with him. Here's the interview.
So we're having a quick seat out of the sun because we've just been walking around, seeing some of the sights here in Sderot and hearing some of the experiences, including that, but also thinking about the rest of the time that you've been here in the country. What's some of the harder things that you've seen? What have you seen whilst you've been here?
I went down to the kibbutzim, very close to, right now we're in Sderot. So, I think and even going into rooms where there's physical evidence of blood and spilled by Hamas. The hardest thing is the pain of people's eyes, the family members, the friends, the survivors, you can see in the back of their eyes I had to come. And although it was difficult to convince my mum and those who cared about me most, I really felt that Hashem had called me to be here. Not only to share the truth about what's happening, but also to stand in solidarity with the people that need hope right now. It's one thing to be on social media and say, hey, be brave, be strong. But it's a different message when you come and stand amongst them and say, hey, be brave, be strong, I'm here with you. And so for me, it's important to share the love of who Yeshua is in my own life, and I can only do that through action. And so to answer your second question, you asked me what was good and bad reactions. The good and bad reactions. Look, even right now, before I got to Starot, I had people who I know who were accusing me of standing with the wrong side in human history. How could you support this nation that has been oppressing a people for 75 years? How can you support this nation as they continue to hit targets in Gaza? And the one reality I've realized with all the people who are trying to stand against it, friends, even distant family members, is they're constantly and consistently trying to remove the elephant in the room, Hamas. They don't want to bring it up. They don't want to talk about it. And they don't want to accept the reality that as long as Hamas remains, the Palestinian people will never be free. These people claim that they want to liberate these people, but they have no desire to liberate them from the one true problem that not only the Palestinian people have, but that we have here in Israel right now, and the rest of the world is going to have if this wicked ideology isn't put to an end. And so nobody wants to talk about Hamas, nobody wants to address the reality, but that's what I see. They would rather blame Israel for everything